The one and only Monster Jam rolls back into U.S. Bank Stadium February 7th and 8th. We've got your tickets in. Check out the contest page, KFAN.com. Keyword contest. You could win a family 4-pack of tickets to the February 7th show. KFAN.com, keyword contest.
We are back with relatively new Timberwolves CEO Matt Caldwell, kind enough to join us from our location as well. Welcome.
Thank you.
I had a nice conversation with you a few weeks back, and I don't remember if we talked about the weather. Is this a culture shock thing for you? What we have, like when they tell you tomorrow morning the wind chill is going to be like minus 50, or do you say, I've been in and out of cold weather before. How are you acclimating?
Yeah, it's definitely a shock. I mean, we knew what we were getting into, but I think even local Minnesotans are saying this is even extreme.
It is.
Thanksgiving weekend, I think it hit like -10, and there was a big snowstorm, and we were like, wow, it's going to be a long winter.
And a little different from Florida that you're accustomed to, you should say?
Yeah. I grew up in New York, so I was used to some cold weather, but my kids had never seen snow. They were born in South Florida. My wife grew up in Brazil, so, pretty warm climate, at least relative to here. And but like December and first couple of weeks or week or so in January, temperatures were maybe 20s, 30s, and we were like, this is great.
Not too bad.
Once you get hit with the -10, you kind of adjust. But this week's been very cold.
I think even for natives, it's and for those of us who've been here a while, it's a little bit on the jarring side. Fortunately, we're playing the basketball indoors. We're in a good spot here on the Skyway level as well. How well do you think you knew the market when you took the job, and how acclimated do you feel that you're getting in the position and this market? Because every market has its peculiarities, one might say.
So, been to Minnesota a number of times. I came from the NHL, so we play the Wild here. I've probably been on 4 or 5 road trips. Saw a great fan base, in the state of hockey arena there with Minnesota Wild. Obviously did my research. I mean, this happened very fast this summer.
Sure.
I maybe had like a month or so to prepare. And I thought I know what I was getting into, but there's been a lot of pleasant surprises. The sports market here is the best I've ever seen. South Florida is not a natural sports market. We wound up really making like Broward County and Fort Lauderdale like a hockey town, but it took us many years. I felt like we were creating fans, and grew up in New York. Great sports market, but also like just a big finance, big Wall Street, big corporate. Here, even though you have a big corporate base, like everyone's into their sports teams.
Yes.
There's a lot of pride. So as far as working in sports and like living in a community, this has been phenomenal.
What's your experience? This is, given the size of the market, to have this many pro teams and to have obviously the major college university means there is a great deal of competition. One could argue there's only so much money to go around, so much money that people can spend compared to some other areas that are larger from a metropolitan standpoint. What kind of challenges do you think that poses?
Yeah, I do think it is saturated. I think the market can withstand this number of teams because of the pride that the fans have. But there's a number of venues, right? Like the hockey and basketball team play in 2 separate venues.
Right.
Soccer and football play in 2 separate stadiums. Separate stadium for baseball. Minnesota, of course. So I think when you have 6 different locations to go to across those sports, that can eat into people's ability to travel and not have a routine and have to go, different routes. But my early gut is that, there's plenty of passionate fans, a lot of, wealthy fans, but also fans in the middle class, lower class that, have affordable tickets that they can get. And I think it's something that's manageable.
You and I talked when we met a while back about sort of the process of you ending up in this position. And, the perception, I think, there's a lot, I think, that the market and fans want to find out about how ownership, the new owners, majority owners are going to change in terms of style, approach to Glenn Taylor when Glenn Taylor was the main guy. The feeling I think I've gotten regarding, 2 significant moves, Tim Connolly coming here and you, is that A-Rod and Mark are sort of, we want what we want, and we're going to be aggressive and almost to the point of we're not taking no for an answer to get it.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that and their style in that regard?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely bang on. I mean, they want to win. They're very competitive. They've been in environments. Obviously, Alex is a former baseball player. He's been a part of a championship team. Mark, with all the companies he's launched, and he knows that hiring key talent is very important. They're willing to pay. They're willing to commit. I mean, I'm not bragging about this, but they offered me a 10-year contract, and I was blown away by that. I didn't even know that was a possibility.
Existed, right?
Yeah. I had some players from the Panthers making jokes to me when they saw I had a 10-year contract. Like, they say, hey, most we can get is like 7 years in the NHL. Can you call Gary Bettman? But they wanted to, commit to me long term. They've been very vocal about building a new arena. So they wanted to make sure that the local city knew that I'm be here for a long term. I'm not going to be here for 3-4 years and cut a deal and go move on to something else. And I think they wanted me to feel secure that if I was going to make this big move with my family, that I had some security long term.
Let's stay with the arena for a minute. I think you and I, we talked about this, and I mentioned the history here is that this is a sports market that I think has historically suffered from arena fatigue. Mm-hmm. The one exception has been, I think the Vikings stadium ultimately was easier of a process, even though it wasn't easy, but it was easier than any of the others, which is make your own, you got money, take care of it, do private funding, whatever the case may be. In the case of the Vikings, I think they ended up getting like $500 million from the state and various entities regarding the deals they got. I don't think it's likely any other team can get that kind of break. So what are the challenges here? Just update us on where we are in the process for what they've made clear, Alex and Mark have, that we got to get it. So one way or another, we want to get something new. Yeah.
So I've already had 2 great meetings with the mayor, with Jacob Fry, and he's very motivated, right? He just got reelected. He sees this as really great for the community. It can help with further revitalizing downtown Minneapolis. Of course, his preference is for us to be in Minneapolis, and that's our priority to try to get done. We see this not just as an arena, but a big real estate project. We want to do multi-use district. We want to team up with all the constituents that are here locally, and the corporate base has been very supportive. I think people see this as a major project that can get people excited about coming downtown more and more.
And give us a sense of where we are in terms of what you're exploring and what kind of realistic time. I know it's going to be, you're years out from probably having one built, but just in terms of figuring out, okay, here's what's actually possible. Mm-hmm. How early are we still, would you say, in the very early stages in that regard?
Yeah, we're still in the early stages. With these things, I like to work backwards. Mm-hmm. I've done 3 public-private partnerships in Florida. I hadn't done like a brand new arena, so this will be bigger than those 3. But I did a major renovation, did a brand new practice facility, music venue. Once you go shovel to ground on an arena, you're talking about 3 years. Right now, just getting to the shovel to ground part is the hard part. Yep. So I would say that over this next year or so, identifying the right site, getting architects, construction managers involved, maybe a development partner, and then working with the city around, how we're going to do an operating agreement. The best case scenario that can get done in a year to maybe 18 months. But then you have to go into permitting. You have to go into working with the administration of the city. You have to work with all the council members. That takes a lot of time. So I would say best case scenario that, we can get the shovel to ground like 2-3 years. So you're looking at, a 5-6 year process, but it's probably more likely in the, 7-year range.
Are there more, in the time you've been here, do you detect there are more challenges or impediments regarding the layers you have to get through than maybe you were accustomed to in Florida?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I haven't. I've been working mostly with the local city of Minneapolis right now, and at some point we'll talk with the state and the county. But I think that the feedback I'm getting right now is that people are motivated for this. The community would love to see a brand new arena with multi-use district around it. We do have the second oldest arena in the NBA, so there's excitement around, what this can bring with jobs, with economic development. So I think it's pretty similar to other, other dynamics of different cities.
You know this world a lot better than I do. My recollection is, for example, I thought the arena, the Warriors' new arena, or relatively new arena, the one built in San Francisco, was basically largely a private project. Mm-hmm. Is that true? Are there any lessons from that that might be the model going forward, especially in a place where folks are pretty stubborn, legislators included, about not necessarily writing checks to teams. Give me some sense of that history. If there's any places where you say, okay, here's kind of, with some exceptions, here's kind of what we're looking for.
Yeah, all options are on the table, and there's some arenas that were privately funded. There's some that are fully publicly funded. Mm-hmm. I think the most common is a public-private partnership where there's some split of the funding, or some tax incentives, or infrastructure build out to help drive people to the venue. So. All those substantive conversations we're going to have here over the next year or so. Do you sense that the city council might be a bigger challenge than the mayor? You need both in some ways, correct? Yes, you do. The mayor can bring, from my understanding, can bring any, bill or, project to the council. And,
right.
As long as he has a minimum of 5 of the 13 votes, he has a veto power. If he gets 7 out of 13, it would sail through. So I look forward to spending time with all the council members and talking through why I think this is a great opportunity for the city.
We talked about this a few weeks ago, but I'll ask you again here for the purposes of, this being a more public conversation. There's always the question. I think ideally it's pretty clear your preference would be the city. Mm-hmm. I tend to, being a city guy, tend to appreciate that and agree with it. But there are practicalities that sometimes can get in the way, and then maybe there's a lot better deal financially that you can get someplace a little further out. How do you go about calibrating that, factoring that in to how you guys want to go forward?
Yeah. I mean, Mark and Alex have been vocal and been on record that the team's staying in Minnesota. Absolutely.
Yes.
We have an operating agreement with the city right now in the Target Center through 2035. So, our intent is to work with them around, prioritizing doing something in Minneapolis. But, as things progress, we will have to at least have plans B and C if things don't work out. But our primary focus right now is to try to figure out something downtown.
One of the other big subjects that's, I know you've heard, I'm sure, a lot about is you guys unveiled ticket plans and some price increases that definitely have created sticker shock amongst some of your fans. So tell me, speak directly to fans who, and I think they all know or have heard, it's the old look. Because the team was as bad as it was for as long as it was, ticket prices were depressed. Fans get used to that. They get spoiled by that to a certain degree.
Yep. And
even if you say, well, sooner or later it was going to have to turn, and the team's better, so therefore you got to be prepared to take the increase. Human nature says, I don't care. They rebel against that. So if you spoke directly to fans about the decisions you guys made, take your best shot as to try to persuade them to not be as bothered as many of those fans are.
No, I understand. We don't take these decisions lightly. People spend their luxury dollar for entertainment. This is really a pricing reset versus increases that we're going to have to do every single year.
Right.
And, at the end of the day, the team's looking at a 5th straight playoff appearance. Last 2 years have been the Western Conference Finals. But given that the pricing was so depressed, we're still at the bottom of the league with average ticket price. So just a couple of basic numbers. Our season ticket pricing is 29 out of 30 teams. We're clearly a top 10 team. Our single game pricing, so tickets that we put out in the market, especially in the upper level, is 30 out of 30 teams. So even with these price increases, we may be 23, 24th in the league.
Yep.
We're nowhere near league averages. We're certainly not near top 10 market teams. And I think, at the end of the day, like, all that stuff is rational. I think people can understand. But at the end of the day, folks are going to look at what they were paying last year and look year over year and do a percentage increase on it. And I would just ask people to be patient. Like, we appreciate their loyalty. This is not just like a one good season and now we're jacking up pricing. This has been sustained success, at least over the last 4 years and now 5th year. So listen, we're planning to try to bring a championship here. We can't guarantee it. We're fully dedicated. We've got Kevin Garnett coming back. We've put in new lighting. We've launched a new ticketing system. So I think Mark and Alex are doing their best possible commitment to show that they're here for the long term. They've got folks like myself and Tim Connolly to come from great franchises. So they're all in. We have one of the faces of the NBA and Anthony Edwards. So I think all those factors, justify, a price increase. But we do understand that based on what they're paying last year, it can be a big increase.
It's interesting because I get it. I mean, everybody is in this to maximize and to make more money. That's not news. That's the system that everybody works under. But I'm wondering how you guys calculate one sneaky thing. I use my own, childhood as an example. I used to go to see Bulls games at the old Chicago Stadium. And what I remember about those crowds at a time where ticket prices weren't as absurd, it felt like you could get a decent seat, or maybe even upper deck, but you could get in without it costing you an arm and a leg, was that it brought a sort of energy to the crowd that, quite frankly, as the Bulls got better, I think dissipated a little bit because it became more, quote-unquote, beautiful people and less of, you could say, maybe grassroots fans. There's a trade-off there, and I even think for the Wolves, Guardsy and I have talked about this, that for the Wolves, during this ascension, part of the energy that's been created there is a lot of young fans that in part were able to get in because the prices were depressed. Do you worry that you lose a little bit of your fan identity if those folks feel like, wait a minute now, I was a big part of this, I wanted to be a part of this, and now you're pricing me out?
Right. It's definitely a big consideration. The last thing we want to do is lose the energy that we have here at Target Center. I've been blown away by how excited and loud the fans are. What I would say is there's a price for everyone in the arena. You can still buy a lower level season ticket for $59 a game. I mean, that's very cheap, relatively speaking. If that's too much for you, there's $20 seats upstairs. So if people are willing to work with us, if it's a price that's been, outside their, the comfort level and ability, like, we will work diligently with you to make sure you can find another seat. And we made sure to have, pricing across the arena that's very reasonable. But, there's supply and demand, and especially in the lower level, we have a lot of demand. We had a big wait list of new business people that have already signed up this week. And we're just trying to, to become more of a competitive pricing team within the NBA. But we'll be very patient and work with people if they have to move their seats, but we certainly don't want them to leave us.
Is there a sweet spot in your philosophy regarding the number of season tickets that you sell? And are you at that, can you tell me what that number is? And are you at that spot now, or what goes into those calculations?
Yeah, so we're sold out of season tickets in the lower level. I'm sure you've heard this many years. We do have an inverted bowl, so just use round numbers. Right. We only have about 8,000 seats in the lower level, but then 10,000 in the upper level. The arenas the last 30 years have flipped that. So I wish we had more capacity in the lower level. So, we're already sold out of seasons in the lower level. We would sell as many season tickets as possible in the upper level, and especially at the low pricing that we have. So we don't have a certain threshold. If people are willing to,
what do you have up there now, would you say, in terms of
season
upper deck season tickets?
I would say probably like 3,000
in the upper level.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. And listen, on that note, there's practices in the past of like putting out like a ton of complimentary tickets.
Yeah, that's true.
And then doing promotions and dropping price to $5-10 just to fill the building. And yeah, maybe you get some people in the building, and maybe it's great to have a sold out crowd, but that's just not a long-term strategy. If you're going to be a championship team and you're playing to the cap and you're trying to do deep runs, you have to have the price integrity. If you don't respect your own brand, it's going to be hard for others too.
What are you hearing? So, I was going to ask you about the quote unquote really seriously beautiful people seats, which are the closest ones, obviously the most expensive ones. And obviously there's a lot of folks out there who can't relate to that anyway and aren't really going to be concerned if those fans are feeling any pain, because the assumption is, well, they got deep pockets. They'll pay whatever they need to pay. But one of the things that I've read is one of the frustrations is that, okay, if you're going to make me as a beautiful person's seat, zealot, more money, then if you're also lessening the space I have because you're adding 3 or 4 or 5 more seats to that row, then that's, for me, the worst of both worlds. Is that part of what you're doing? And how much of a concern is that in terms of the decisions that you make, in terms of convincing the folks who can afford those seats to say, yeah, go ahead, I'll if it's another 25%, no problem, I'll do it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the last thing we want to do is, do a pricing reset to be more competitive with NBA teams, and then worsen the experience for folks. So, the courtside members that you're talking about, they still have all their food and beverage included in their ticket. We've increased court cash for them so that they can have more money that they can get for food and merchandise. We are going to be trying to add seats in the lower bowl. But this is dead space that we're not utilizing right now. I think in the past there wasn't demand. So we're being very mindful that people's own seat is not being, squished, if you will, and trying to be additive in open dead space that we have.
In our remaining minutes, you mentioned the KG reunion, which you guys made a big announcement on. Can you give us any sense? Would you call those my assumption was always that once the ownership change was official, that was not going to be difficult to do. That's what, for whatever reason, better or for worse, that's what KG was waiting for. And once that change was official, that it would be pretty easy for you guys to do it. Was it? I mean, were there all sorts of conversations and still negotiations that A-Rod and or Mark had to do with KG? How did we get to this place where now it looks like he's going to be back?
Yeah, well, he's definitely coming back. But I came in at the 11th hour, so they did all the dirty work. Mark and Alex have been talking to Kevin since they got involved in 2021. I don't think it was a foregone conclusion that he was definitely coming back once they got majority control. But it definitely made things a lot easier. I don't know if you've met Kelly LaFerriere, who was, interim CEO before I arrived, and she's going to be staying on with us. She did a lot of work with Kevin's, management team.
Right.
And, once the transaction closed this summer, July, August, September, probably, bi-weekly calls with them. We wanted to script out how much we were going to pay him, how much, how many visits he was going to make, jersey retirement, what was he going to do in the community when he was here. There was a lot of details to still iron out. We really hadn't gotten to those, specific conversations with him, and that really picked up these last couple of months. But I didn't feel like it was like a done deal until we really got to the finish line, like December timeframe.
Can you give us a sense, lastly, of what his role is going to be? Because as far as I understand it, it's not management, it's not making trades, it's not the personnel side, but some stuff that he wants to do and that you guys are agreeable to have him do. So can you lay that out as specifically as you can?
Yeah, he will be an ambassador. He loves this community. He spent a lot of his foundational years here.
Yeah.
He's going to make a minimum of 3 visits. So we're working on getting him here, kind of end of this regular season, maybe beginning of playoffs. And then we'll do the jersey retirement next year. And then we'll have, some meet and greets with season ticket holders. We will have some content that we're going to do with him. And he's been, he already did like a video with us. As soon as we got the deal signed, we sent a team out to LA to get him and the classic edition jerseys that we have this year, and he was wonderful. And fans loved it, and he had a lot of fun with it. So you'll see more of that content, and then more like in-person visits.
Now I'm assuming when it comes to whatever compensation, it's more than $150. That he's probably doing okay in that regard.
Yeah, a lot more.
Now, is there any chance with your connections that you guys can convince him that it's part of the? Probably too late because you probably already signed the contracts. We were hoping that part of the contract could be a minimum of 3 appearances on this program, on the Bumper to Bumper show. Kevin Garnett is as hard as anybody in my 35 years in this business to actually get on the radio away from like after games. So that would be the ultimate challenge for us, is to just like even once to either get him in studio, we'll take once, or even by telephone to get him for like 10 or 15 minutes. Because I guarantee you it would go well. I guarantee you it would be fun. And I know the audience would eat it up.
Yep. I wish I would have thought of this before we signed.
Too late. I came to you too late.
Let me see what I can do. I'd love it. I think once he gets here and he starts feeling welcome and he's enjoying it, and we'll try to find an opportunity.
I appreciate the time. Thanks for helping us out and for the extended visit. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
The new Timberwolves CEO, Matt Caldwell, kind enough to join us. We'll make this the bottom of the hour break. Do you want to do a 520 Sports Fix? We'll get some sports headlines in. Get to some other things. We are at the Target Center Cage location. Wolves and Bulls tonight on the Timberwolves channel, because I think we also have Minnesota Wild hockey. Oh, one other thing. Can I ask you? It just occurred to me. Where are we real quick I thought I read that, when it comes to FanDuel and the regional deals, that, there may have been a payment or two missed. That's always an ongoing challenge for any teams, it seems like, regarding these regional deals. Can you update us on that? Is that true?
Yeah, there's been a missed payment for all teams, but we're working diligently with FanDuel. We're confident we'll get them through this season. We still have one more year with them. They have apparently, this is all in the news, 2 potential buyers, and the NBA is leading all those discussions. So we're hoping that this all gets worked out.
Do you have big plans beyond that doesn't necessarily involve them, like a way to reinvent the wheel already, or not so much?
It's kind of like the arena. We have, plans B, C, and D, but we'd love to try to work something out with them over the next year. And, we're working hard with the NBA to see, what other solutions they have as well. But we have some other opportunities in the market.
Thanks again. My only advice regarding the weather is layers. It's all about layers. It doesn't have to be that the outer layer is like, as bulky as possible. It's just if you have enough layers, you will be properly protected. That's all it is.
And I learned this line. It's not cold outside. You just didn't dress properly. All right. So I'm a real Minnesota now.
Thanks again. Appreciate you. Bottom of the hour break. Back in just a couple minutes here on The Fan.
Ball. Just in case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barreiro's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
It's the 520 Sports Fix at about 5:35. That might be about as late as it has ever been as we continue from our Target Center location where it's been very busy. It's very festive now. It's Wolves Bulls tonight on the Timberwolves channel. What else? Well, we want to talk about that and what else here in the top 5?
Well, I'm going to continue because I've missed it all week because I've been gone. I'm going to give one final Hoosier hotline nugget because we have some numbers from Monday night's championship game via ESPN and their public relations team. Would you care to guess how many people at the peak of the championship game between Indiana and Miami?
The National College Championship. This isn't the NFL divisional round.
Correct.
Monday night.
At the peak.
Monday night. That's a good one. I'm going to say at the peak, 32 million.
Wow. You're pretty good.
Close?
33.2 million
okay. All right.
Was the peak. They averaged 30 million throughout the broadcast. It's the second most watched college football playoff game title game. I don't know which was first. It's the second best cable telecast ever. And this is just too good.
That surprises me.
It shows you kind of how you've been living the last decade.
Yeah.
It's the most viewed non-NFL sports event since the 2016 World Series Game 7. Who played in that World Series 2016 Game 7?
Might have been the Cubs.
That was the Chicago Cubs.
Might have been the Chicago Cubs, yeah.
So the last decade of your fandom championships.
Well, we know why that is. There are more Cub fans alive than fans of any other team, and there's more college Indiana University fans alive than any other college as well, allegedly.
Is that true?
That's what they keep saying. I don't know how true it is.
I haven't heard that 5 billion times in the last week.
How do you calculate that?
And where have you been? 800,000.
Well, yeah.
That's been my favorite. I think that's graded at me more than Indiana has 800,000 living alums. Well, we're happy for your longevity.
And I didn't know it, but I don't even know if I believe it, to be honest with you. But it's wonderful. It's true. Those are nice numbers.
They're huge.
That's I will say that, and you and I have not had a chance to talk about the game itself in much detail, that when what are you looking for in a game like that? You want sort of mythic moments by which it can be remembered forever and ever, that you can put to music. Obviously, there's a million being put to Hoosiers to say, I love you guys a whole bit.
Yep.
But it really, is it not hard to top the quarterback option draw play on 4th and 5 to basically win the game, ultimately, even if you didn't know it at the time, where the QB has to make several moves in order, and then you got the leap.
The leap.
You know you're going to get crushed. You bring the ball back in responsibly, so there's no chance it's going to be fumbled, and you're the Heisman Trophy winner. That's hard to top. to symbolize what you've done when when people are looking back on this game 50 years from now. Do you remember that time when that Mendoza kid, what he did, the Heisman Trophy won the game? That's hard to top. Would you not agree?
It was unbelievable, and not that it matters to anybody anymore because it's not as mythic as it once was, but it is the Sports Illustrated cover this week.
It is,
that picture, which, kids don't even know what that means anymore, but for, people my age and obviously older, that's pretty cool. And you know what's completely getting overshadowed? I don't know if you talked about this. The fourth down throw and catch earlier on that drive. Like, that play, that's the play of the game to me, because if you don't get that, Miami's got the ball right around midfield, I think. I don't remember the exact
yard. Was that the throw to the right sideline?
Yes. The little back shoulder.
Shoulder where he had to bring the ball
to get it.
Or he was going to end up trapping it, and it was going to end up being, there they are, going to be ending up being overturned. You're right. That's a very sneaky good play, but it's an example of why they ended up where they were. They tended... And that's a kid who started the season not even playing for the first half of the season until Surratt got hurt. So, you're right. That was an extremely underrated play, and it's the old. They seem to make a higher percentage of plays they have to make than most teams that you're going to remember.
What's crazy to me, last thing on this is my big takeaway was Indiana went undefeated, obviously 16-0.
Yeah.
Like, you talk about college football parity, like Miami lost twice. Like, you watch what they did in the playoff and then how well they played, I thought, on Monday night.
I agree.
And they lost 2 games. It just shows you how hard it is to actually go through something unscathed, like the Hoosiers did. So there we go.
You know what their final record was? The Hoosiers?
16-0,
16-0.
Yeah.
The last undefeated men's college basketball champion, remember their record? 32-0. It's all symmetrical.
Oh, the
it's
numbers.
all amazing.
Yeah.
50 years apart, and now they got both.
Yeah, because I think 16 times 2 is 32, right?
Even I can figure out that math, and I think
that was
you
the
can
test.
too. Exactly.
The Timberwolves are on the Timberwolves channel of your iHeartRadio app tonight, 7 o'clock against the Bulls, because the Minnesota Wild are back in action at Grand Casino Arena on the other side of town. It is an 8:30 puck drop because it's national TV. So you could, listen to both.
Mix and match, yeah.
Mix and match. Looks like Gus Bus is in the net tonight for the Minnesota Wild, who lost on Tuesday, right, to Montreal?
They did.
Does that sound right?
Very late. We talked to Louis was there. He doing TV.
Yep.
And we talked to him about that was the classic game where they were, completely dominated got early in the game, got more into it, and we're just sort of trying now to get. We're back to, as much as it's an old story, just getting healthy enough or healthier, which I think we're starting to. But that's got to be the goal on the other side of the Olympic break, I think, is can we ever get to a place where we're reasonably healthy and got most of our people?
The Twins fired trainers for stuff like that.
Yes, they do.
Multiple trainers.
Also, Erickson Ek back tonight. He got activated off the IR. He will be playing.
Good nugget.
Good addition right there.
What do we call that on Beyond the Pond? Brett's Bits? What do we call it? What is
breakaways is what they're
Brett's
called.
Breakaways.
Brett's Breakaways. Yeah. Good alliteration.
Brett's Breakaways.
That works well.
Thanks for jumping in.
Do you want to get caught up and continue this after the break? Or do you have much else?
Really, we're just going to talk about the Wolves and the fact that Julius Randle is available tonight. He was a late add to the injury report.
I didn't know he was on the injury report.
Yes, he was questionable with left foot soreness, but he is available as of the official injury report tonight.
Interesting. And you mentioned Dillingham is questionable tonight, but it has nothing to do.
I won't go there with Dilly. I think you guys. He's 20.
Well, I'm not giving up on him.
I know.
It hasn't worked out as much. There's no way they thought 2 years in they couldn't feel comfortable having him play 10 minutes a game. There's just no chance, and they're not comfortable playing him 10 minutes a game.
That's true.
That's the position they're. They're going to make a move. I guarantee you. There will be a move.
You guarantee it?
I do. I don't think there's any, and it may not be a sexy move, but there are players. See, Johnny's got me going with the Pacers kid. What's his name? Matherin?
Yeah.
How do you pronounce that?
Matherin? Yep.
I think that would be a massive win and upgrade for the team. But I have no idea if he's even available. But I love that kid. I think
he was good in the playoffs last year.
He was outstanding, and he would give them a little bit of that added dimension. And definitely is a streaky scorer, but he can score a little bit. He's got some ability.
You think we could pry him out of Indianapolis? Nobody wants to leave Indy.
That's the question.
It's special in Indy.
What do you have to give up? And can you give us, because you're going to have to give up a couple of your young pieces probably. You're not going to give up your core, I don't think, at this point. You're not going to give up Naz Reid, I don't believe.
No.
You're not going to give up Randall at this point.
No.
Or, as I mentioned earlier, maybe we can get Cat back. There's our depth.
Be a nice piece.
We'd be a big team at that point.
Yeah, we could play 4 posts.
Think about it.
And Berenger.
Oh,
because Cat could play point forward
easily,
point center.
That's it. All right, top 5 at 5 in the books. A little late, but better late than never. Back with much more from the Cage Target Center, where the fans are lining up. Man, they are ready to go. Hated rival, the Chicago Bulls in town. More next here in the Fan.
We all had that one teacher who believed in us. Well, you can show your gratitude with Thank a Teacher. It's powered by Donors Choose. Nominated a public school teacher to win $5,000 for their classroom. This week's winner, Alexis Hallman, a special education teacher at Woodland Elementary School. Nominated teacher to thank today, iHeartRadio.com/teachers. iHeartRadio.com/teachers.
We are back. Target Center location. Places, I mean, people are, I guess the gates are about to open, so it's backed up pretty considerably. Have I missed something about the Bulls, or is it just that
people like this team?
People like this team, and as you snarkily mentioned, they're trying to get ahead of the ticket increase.
Yeah, they want to enjoy the team while they can.
Yeah. What did you make of what, I guess... We had Wolves CEO Matt Caldwell, the new guy in town. Nothing about what he said surprised me. He's going to try to minimize them, smooth it over, whatever the case may be. What did you take out of that conversation?
All of that, yeah. Nothing necessarily surprised me. I thought he played the hits with, and there's facts. I know what Johnny said as well. I think is accurate. It's indisputable to me.
Two things are both indisputable.
Yeah, and. I'm a season ticket member. Oh, good for me. And as I've told people, one of the reasons that I jumped in a couple of years ago is because the value was unbelievable. The value was ridiculous. And it wasn't crazy expensive, even for lower level seats at the time. My season tickets over the last 3 years, whatever it's been, they've gone up at least 50%. And so, we've got a month to figure out what we're going to do on the whole thing, because at some point it does become, cost prohibitive. But one of the reasons why I think that they have so many loyal season ticket holders is A, the team's really good, but B, they did a great job of getting people in here on the front end all those years ago with extremely good value. But I also don't think even though they're still underpriced relative to the NBA, I think they're going to lose some people.
I don't think there's any question.
Yeah, I do.
I agree with you on that,
because they've gone up incrementally the last few years.
Yes,
and which again is their right, and I get it.
Yes.
And I want to emphasize, when I bought season tickets, I'm like, that's all that they cost, and I can sell them easily, and I can give them to people, and I get playoff access. It made so much sense, and it's been a great experience. It's been a wonderful experience. How can you argue with it as a season ticket member? The last few years, but I definitely get how people are monitoring it. And I'm lucky because mine started so low that even with the percentages, it's still not an absurdly crazy number, especially relative to the rest of the NBA. So, but this one I think did kind of shock some people more than the other ones have.
Well, that's always the danger of depressing your ticket prices out of desperation, where you say, we have no choice, and we know what this is going to set up later, but we don't care. We have to do it. But every place where ticket prices are compared to every place else ridiculously low, that's frankly why some places refuse to do it, because they go, we can't do it, because once we do this, people are never going to forget it. They're never going to forgive us if we say, well, now we're compensating on the other end of it. And so, again, I can't blame the Wolves for doing what they're doing. Now, what you could say is, how many years in a row are you going to do it?
Right.
And then how
is this an actual reset?
What he suggests.
Or are you going to keep the trend
going? But I also can't blame fans who are saying, wait a minute now. This is ridiculous. This isn't New York. This isn't California. You're kidding yourself if you think I can keep up with it. And as you say, I don't think some people are. I think they will lose people for sure. And I got to believe that's in their calculations, and they've decided, all right, well, if we have to lose people for a little while, we will. Or maybe there's other people we think that are waiting.
And they've had a waiting list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've had a waiting list. But it's two forces that I think were inevitably going to collide at some point, and where, there was going to be a reckoning. And so I'm not surprised that they're raising them. I think more generally, and this is an ongoing discussion around the league, is what's the tipping point across the board?
Right.
Where that's it. You didn't believe it, but no, people can't keep paying it. And you're back to how many people you lose. I mentioned the crowds at Chicago Stadium that were so different than the United Center crowds when the Bulls were in their heyday. And by the way, the atmosphere, people loved it and because they won a lot, but it wasn't the same crowd at all. And you pointed this out, and you can see it. I think you can even see it in some of the more expensive seats, that when this resurgence took place, there were a lot of young people.
Big time.
That I felt, and I've talked about this on the air. I've always praised Lynx crowds for being utterly interested in the games in a way that the beautiful people in a lot of Wolves games, Wild games, etc., might not be. But what I thought I saw during these last two runs was they may be, in some cases, somehow, some way, in the quote-unquote beautiful people seats, but they're into it.
Oh, yeah.
They are young, as you say, and they are utterly committed to watching the team evolve and watching the story play out. And, there's the risk. The risk is you're going to lose some of those people, and what impact does that have on atmosphere? Now, again, it's a bottom-line business, so they may say, well, we don't care.
Right.
This happens everywhere.
Yep.
And if it's more the other folks, that's what every other franchise tends to lean toward.
Well, along what you just said of the crowds, look at the two of the famous photos: the Garnett scorers table photo from 2004, Game 7, and the Pat Bev Anthony Edwards playing game
yes.
photo. But look at the crowds side by side; they are so different.
They are
in age,
exactly
ethnicities,
right.
even like. People are wearing basically in 04, they're wearing like what I'm wearing, just like a generic hoodie. I'm just here at the game. Well, there's probably like 9 different Anthony Edwards jerseys, every night, because it's just a different deal. The one place I don't agree with Matt Caldwell, and I don't agree with people at the University of Minnesota that do this. It drives me crazy when he talked about how we're not just going to lower ticket prices for promotions, and we're not going to give comps away. I get why you're not going to give comps away, but one thing I think the Wolves have done a great job in over the years of they've never missed an opportunity to tweak their marketing a little bit. Like Anthony Edwards just scored 10,000 points or whatever. And I think tonight was one of the nights where 2 weeks ago on the Wolves app, I got an alert. It's like Anthony has 10,000, $10 tickets on they've never missed an opportunity to do that.
That is smart.
And I think that helps. But what he said was, well, if you don't respect your brand, who will? And again, I'm not the president. I don't know how business works.
Right.
But I can never accept that we're not going to try to do everything we can to fill the building. Like, even if we have to cut prices, and this has been a Minnesota problem forever. They're sick of me talking about it with them. Like, the I guess, what's the word? The ease, not ease, but the acceptance that, well, these are our prices and we're going to set them. And if people don't come,
take it or leave it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. I reject that, because I think sports are, to me, about atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I think you try to get as many people as you possibly can. So I get what he was saying,
right,
that you have to value and protect your brand. But if you've got a couple thousand empty seats every night, that seems like a missed opportunity.
The hardest part with him, and he's not going to give away his cards on this, is the arena, because I know there's a lot more meat on the bone that in his vision and their vision has to be much further along than he's willing to say at this point, which I understand because nothing's done yet. But I'm still fascinated to see where that's going to go, how it's going to go, how feasible it is, where they, I think, want to do it, which is really not that far from where we are right now.
Yep.
And again, how long? I think they are realistic about saying we're probably 7 years away, right? 6-7 years away in terms of being done. That's a long time.
Will we be doing the show from the new Skyway cage?
That's it. That's exactly. Will there be a Skyway cage? And how much will that rental cost the station?
And will the speakers work?
And will the speakers work finally after all these years? Top of the hour break. Half hour yet to go. We'll come back and maybe even cover a couple of A-section controversies when we return.
energy of the state of hockey. Minnesota Wild, they're back at Grand Casino Arena. Don't miss the speed, the hits, the roar of the crowd. Get your tickets now, wild.com/tickets, wild.com/tickets.
Bring gas.
Sorry, KFAN.
What do you mean?
One of my favorite follows on X, and I know that's dangerous to admit to following anybody because everybody's got their opinions, and you could either hate me or admire me on the basis of any particular follow, right? Because everybody's polarizing.
Yep.
I think he's I don't know the fancy title he has for fire.org. I think he's a pretty straight shooter when it comes to First Amendment issues and consistent enough that he ends up annoying both Sharks and Jets on a regular basis. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think it's Lukanov. It's Greg is the first name. And he wrote a piece regarding what's been going on in Minneapolis over recent weeks. And I thought I wanted to get into a couple of things he mentioned because I agree with a great deal of this. He's attempting to sort of cut through all the nonsense regarding what's speech that's over the line and what isn't, and when is the First Amendment an inaccurate or unsuccessful justification for certain activity as well. He writes, there's plenty of, as for the protests themselves, some of what we've seen is textbook First Amendment activity, protesters chanting in public streets, filming law enforcement, warning neighbors of enforcement activity, criticizing policy. This is precisely the kind of free speech and free assembly the First Amendment was designed to protect. Nonetheless, there's plenty of unprotected speech being improperly justified on First Amendment grounds. Since the start of ICE operations in Minnesota in November, it's only been since November. It feels like it's been 5 years.
Well, I feel like December 1st was like the big day.
Yeah, you're right. That's true.
Yeah.
We've seen objects thrown at officers, crowds pepper sprayed and tear gassed, and worse, but the extent to which the First Amendment is implicated in interactions between protesters and ICE agents often depends on how the granular details played out, which isn't always clear from the videos and testimonies. Can I repeat that? It isn't always clear from the videos and testimonies. Way too nuanced for most people, I get that. U.S. District Judge Catherine Menendez ruled last week that ICE agents can't detain or use tear gas on peaceful observers who haven't obstructed their operations. The 83-page ruling includes countless allegations from activists and ICE officers about each other's conduct, many of which are egregious and some of which are factually incompatible with others. Now, since then, I believe an appeals court overturned that decision as well. This, I think, was written before that. Some types of speech, like crowds telling ICE agents to kill themselves in the heat of a protest, might strike most people as upsetting and offensive, but are still protected. While the White House has claimed that such incidents are the result of a campaign of targeted harassment against federal officers, it has so far not provided evidence to that effect. It seems just as probable that those protesters were motivated by their personal dislike of federal law enforcement and chose a harsh way to express it. He notes that some law enforcement activity violates the First Amendment, even though it's non-physical. There are credible reports that ICE agents have led civilian observers back to the observers' homes. The message couldn't be any clearer. ICE knows where you live. Assuming there's no law enforcement reason to go to these homes, it's a pure intimidation tactic designed to create a chilling effect, and the First Amendment is meant to protect us from that kind of retaliation for speaking out. Then he writes, there's the moment where the First Amendment lesson goes completely off the rails. This is related to the across the river, as he writes, in St. Paul. Protesters entered a church, disrupted a worship service. Journalist Don Lemon filmed the event, and while interviewing a member of the congregation, was told our church had gathered for worship, which we do every Sunday. We asked them to leave, and they obviously have not left. The next thing we hear is Lemon saying, quote, so this is what the First Amendment is about. To which Lukanov writes, no, it's not. The First Amendment does not grant a right to commandeer private spaces or force unwilling audiences in a private space into a political confrontation Church is not a public forum, and the actions of that group that day are not legally protected expression. They have a right to gather outside the church and protest on the sidewalk. By walking into a private service and refusing to leave, they are, at a minimum, trespassing. And in this case, the protesters displayed a flawed understanding of protected speech. Believing your cause is morally urgent. Let me repeat this. Believing your cause is morally urgent isn't a valid defense for entering a private space unlawfully to deliver a message. He goes on to note that speech is not violence, protest is not conspiracy, criticism is not incitement, violence is not speech, and disruption of private spaces is not protest. And when we blur those lines, we don't advance justice. We empower whoever currently has the authority to determine what those words mean. Very well written, I think. He's the president and CEO of FIRE, co-author of a book called The Coddling of the American Mind and the Canceling of the American Mind as well. I agree with all that. Now, today, I think among the organizers, the church protest, Nikema Levy-Pounds was arrested. And one of the allegations I haven't been able to fact check, although I think you told me, or maybe it was somebody else who told me, that in effect, the White House has almost confirmed what they've done, that there's a photo of Levy-Pounds being arrested, the real photo, and then there's an AI photo in which she appears to be crying that the White House allegedly dropped, as in sent out.
Right. And
the story seems to be that they are perfectly willing. They said, well, we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to send out the photos, and then you're going to be ready. We're going to do more memes, which almost would seem to confirm that we're doing exactly what we're going to do. They don't care at this point if you try to draw the importance of the distinctions that if you're representing the government and you think you're trying to hold an individual accountable for that protest, and we can debate and argue about all of that strategically in a minute, that's too serious a step to take to memify it, right? To turn it into that sort of thing. But I almost hesitate saying it because in that world of performance, it's no one, I should say no one, the folks who are going down this road are going to revel in it. They're going to say, well, they meme us all the time, so there's no meaningful distinction. So I don't even know why it may not even be worth bothering, correct?
Right. I know.
That's sort of the position we're in, unfortunately, at this point. And strategically, here's what's interesting. I don't know if you agree. Maybe there are a lot of listeners who don't agree with this. I don't know what the line is. I believe, and Kessler and I talked about this yesterday, that a line was crossed in going inside the church and bothering people who had every right to be offended by what was done. It's not the only story that needs to be covered. In fact, let's be honest, the notion that once you talk about this story, right now at the text line, it's, but what about what ICE is doing? And you can say, we've been talking about ISIS tactics being over the line for weeks. But in that moment, it won't matter. It's like, well, why are you talking about this at all? Because it is relevant, because I think it's germane. Strategically, do you not run the risk in arresting her of creating more of a martyr out of her anyway and actually elevating the protest to a bigger place as opposed to we're just going to move on. We're going to criticize it. We're going to move on with the rest of our lives. You know what I mean?
I do.
That's strategically, to me, the danger of
the calculus you have.
All right. Yeah, we're you know what? We're going to arrest her. We're going to have a perp walk where she's got, I don't even know if she was cuffed in the photo or not. I'm not sure. But that's, to me, why sometimes if you're thinking about strategy, sadly, politicizing this, then I'm not even sure that that's a wise move to do. Because I think that's just carrying the story forward for now a longer period of time than it might have been covered previously.
But do they even care, though?
No, they don't.
That's the thing.
That's
what I always just keep coming back to.
Yeah.
Like, are anybody's minds going to be changed from what they believe right now, either side, either way, on this thing? And so everybody just kind of digs in and they do what they want to do.
I've always felt you're better maintaining the high road or the higher road. And once you go down the road that you start infiltrating places because you've identified an individual who's associated with, in this case, that church, you lose a little of your higher ground. And you can say, yeah, but this is different. We got to make a point. And by God, we got to you can do it. But I actually think in the public eye, you make it easier to distract from people concentrating on the number of times and the number of situations in which ice has been well over the line. We'll break, come back, wrap up a very busy program, give you some highlights, and even perhaps some lowlights next.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
Good lineup today that included an appearance very early in the show with Fox 9 weather superstar Ian Leonard, who actually I thought did a very good job trying to help us understand the larger weather phenomenon that is leading to what seems to be a fairly historic set of conditions. Not so much necessarily here with the wind chill, but through much of the southern part of the United States. The unusual combination of this time of year, some of these storms usually being rain, and this time being ice and snow going very far south, including Atlanta. Washington, D.C. is supposed to get like a foot of snow, which is pretty rare, I think. So that was early in the broadcast.
He listed like 8 states that don't have a winter weather advisory.
That's right, including the one you were at. Oregon was one of them. I think in Washington State.
Yep,
were 2 of them. What was that followed by? Johnny Athletic was
Sean Salisbury.
Salisbury was at 3:30. We had a good discussion with him, not just about the playoffs, but about the Vikings' future at the quarterback position, and an interesting name that he offered up as being one worthy of at least their consideration. In addition, Johnny Athletic joined in studio. Who am I forgetting? Oh, Alan Horton. He joined in when I say studio, in our Target Center booth studio. The new CEO of the Minnesota Timberwolves, Matt Caldwell, gave us a half hour between 5 and 5:30. Tomorrow is Friday.
And Derek Falvey and Derek Shelton walked by.
They walked by and waved. You should have brought him in.
I know.
But that's okay. We just had the new manager not that long ago.
Yep.
They looked like they were celebrating the big. Is it Taylor? Which Rodgers did we sign?
Taylor Rodgers, $2 million.
$2 million a year, that's our speed. If you say $2 million, we'll raise our hand.
How old are you? 35?
Yeah.
Come on.
We'll take a shot at that.
Here you go.
Very, very true, Davey. So tomorrow is predictions with Gerby, we assume.
Yeah, it sounds like from his social media he's back. He's
no longer tail between the legs?
I guess.
Yeah.
He responded to some people, shockingly, right after the Bears were eliminated from the postseason.
That changed everything for him.
Seemed like it.
Yeah.
That was a heck of a Caleb throw. You and I didn't get to talk about it.
That's just absurd. Well, the underrated part about it too is, and Salisbury talked about this, it's almost impossible to get him down.
Yes.
I think the sneaky part of him isn't just elusiveness, but he's strong. I think his lower body is reasonably strong. Yeah, that throw you can't make up. I mean, you just can't make up that play. Unfortunately, as we talked about later with Sean, I do think the interception was a bit reckless, even if that's sort of part of who he is, because they're in a position there where if they just play it conservatively.
I thought it was over.
Me too.
Yeah.
It felt like it was over when they got to the 50. And I think that was a first down throw, if I'm not mistaken. I do not think that they needed that pass to be completed. But in any case, we'll talk predictions. Ben Gessling tomorrow. And I'm pretty sure Lavelle will be part of the festivities tomorrow as well.
Should be. Yeah, he definitely should be.
Unless, is there any reason to believe that the wind chill will be so bad tomorrow that we will be knocked off the air? Does that ever happen? Can we just say we don't want to travel anywhere because of the weather? Can we get away with that?
Not really.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, we really can't.
That's the problem.
Unless like a tree explodes on our transmitter.
Yeah, that would be the one.
And we're just knocked
exception,
off. Yeah,
to that as well. So that's all part of the festivities for tomorrow. I felt like I had something else to finish with, but I cannot remember what it is. The worst of the wind chill, I think, is supposed to be tonight into tomorrow morning, right? Like minus 45 or something is what he's for tomorrow
morning.
Through
like the morning bus stops, even though no schools are open.
And I don't think if this is true, I think should be mentioned again. It's going to stay cold, but if the winds die down, which I think he said they were going to as the day went on, that does make a big difference.
Of
right?
course.
There's no question about that. But because then the old real feel, I mean, minus 10 feels bad. I mean, it hurts. You don't want to have a lot of bare skin. But if the wind's whistling at like 32 miles per hour,
doesn't help
out of the northwest, then that changes everything as well. That's the music. I assume it's Fan on Demand in the air tonight.
Yes.
And then Wild Hockey late on the Fan.
You got it.
8:30 start.
Yep.
If you're interested,
Faldness should be doing an extended pregame, don't you think?
He never does, though.
He should be doing 7 to 8:30.
Never, ever does. Timberwolves Bulls tonight. That's why we're here, ostensibly. That can be heard on the Timberwolves channel. That's regular time, 7 o'clock. I'm assuming 6:45 pregame. I'm not exactly sure. But that's on the free iHeartRadio app and the Wolves channel in particular. When did Go for Men play again?
Saturday morning against Hoiberg.
That's
11
right.
a.m.
Undefeated Nebraska?
Hoiberg, yep.
And when's the next
Women's
game?
Sunday against Wisconsin back at home. The Red Hot Badgers.
Hated rivals.
Yeah.
No question. Thanks for watching. Thank you for listening. We will talk to you tomorrow beginning at 3.